Hey everybody, how's it going? This video is a try of something new, so it may not be done that well. I'm making bases, making a couple of bases just to kind of see which ones I like to use for certain models. And the thing is, when you're making bases like this, kind of a fly-by-night nature, the bases aren't going to be all-purpose. Some bases will only work with certain styled models. For example, models that have a wide stance won't necessarily work on some bases that you make. But models that are kind of running where 1 foot may be the only thing connecting to the base, you can make more intricate bases, or the more intricate bases you make, they can still work on. And you may end up making a too intricate of a base for a certain model, which is unfortunate because somebody really like it, but that model can't use it just due to the nature of its stance. Now, certain models you can convert if you want to, if you're good at repositioning limbs, but the robe models tend to be difficult, so you really have to be careful with those. But I'm making bases because I need a base for Armin, and I'm going to make a couple of Rebel bases anyway because it's always good to have them on hand for when I'm doing my Dark Angel repaints, because they're getting rebased. So I thought I'd take you along for the ride. Now, this is August 26th, I believe. It's a Friday. My computer has a problem. It's been having a problem, so that's why I haven't been making as many videos, and I haven't been able to do the community project update video, the next part of it, because of those problems. So with that being said, I don't know when this video is going to get uploaded. I hope before the 28th, which I think is a Sunday, because that's when the hurricane is supposed to hit my area, and I'll probably not have power. I don't think it'll be that, terrible of a event. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay a hurricane, but I'm hoping I don't really lose power, not just for the sake of I don't want to lose power. But it's gonna hit on Sunday, so we'll see how many videos I can get out. Just kind of hunkering down this weekend. Maybe I can get some hobby stuff done, like these bases. So anyway, what you need is a standard base if you're gonna try this at home. I recommend some old newspaper or something you can put down on your workspace because my method is a little messy. Anything you're going to use for your basing material in terms of not flock. This is a step where flock isn't introduced. You still will flock the base if you want to, and I do, but that's not happening here just yet. So, for example, if you're going to make it more techno looking, getting gears or getting whatever, getting stuff you need. And here we have, since I'm going for more arcane look for the Armin of the Pre-Era 2000 Suns, I'm going for more of like slate or a granite type of look in terms of the slate. The other guys are based on tiles, and they're not perfectly lined up tiles. They look kind of just not perfect, like maybe there's been some wear and tear, so I want to make it look more rubbly, if that makes any sense. So that's what we're going for here. It's from Gale Force 9. It's their granite rubble set kit thing, whatever, and it comes with pieces that range in size and shapes. Now obviously this is going to be a bit too big for the base if you want to keep it within the confines of the base. So what I use is I use these type of pliers to kind of break it. You grab it, and I'll do it on this guy. You grab it and you kind of just twist, or not twist, but bend it. And you can break pieces off of different sizes, and sometimes it frays apart like that, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It gives you random edges instead of a nice clean break, if that's what you want. So we have the pieces. We're not going to use all of them, obviously. It's just not enough room. But we're not using glue. We're using something to give you more of a I don't want to say natural, but more of a random effect, and that is spackling paste. You can use spackling paste, you can use wood filler, whatever. I use spackling paste. This 8 fluid ounce mini bucket thing, it's probably like $10 or so, and it's gonna last a good long time for the purposes of doing bases. You don't need that much. I also use a plastic knife, just in case it does get too crudted up with stuff. I can just throw it out, no worries. So we're going to take this off, and this is what it looks like on the inside. I kind of mix it around before I use it. And you take it like you're going to spread butter or cream cheese or whatever. And you take your base and you just spread it on your base. Let's see if I can do this and keep it on camera for the most part. And how thick of a thing you put on is up to your preference. If you want it really thick, so you can kind of really get some depth, I guess, to your base, that's great. and you just take that with your finger and wipe off excess. This stuff, if it dries on you or dries on something that's not a delicate surface, you can just like scrape it off with your finger pretty much, even on the side of the bases. I just like to keep it clean. And once you get kind of what you want, which I think I have here, I'm going to give it a little bit more depth just to play with. You just wipe the extra off your knife so it doesn't get crudded up as quickly. And you're up to the next step. Now, if you didn't want to do anything that crazy, you can leave it at this. You can have a nice uneven texture. It's going to look nice. You can let it dry, add flock, and you have a nice flocked base. But now you can add things to the base and push it into the paste. I'm going to cover up the paste so it doesn't dry out or anything. Now my hands are dirty because I did this to one base already, but it will wash off. Don't have to worry about that. This is why I suggest doing it on paper, like a newspaper or something. Now I'm going to try and make this for Armin so he could stand on it, and he's using a road model. No, I'm not going to grab the model. With kind of a wide stance, static look, so I want him to be able to put both feet down and look realistic. And that's something you have to keep in mind, is the posing of the model. You don't want his feet resting on something that looks unrealistic, like he wouldn't be able to balance or stand on it like that. So I'm going to try to get something like that that'll work. And which means I'm going to go for the edges to put things on the base. So right here, for example, if you can see that, I'm going to put something down there and kind of squeeze it in. You can wiggle it around, get to where you want. And the next one, let's see. Well, I have a base already made that'll probably work for Armin, so if this doesn't necessarily work out, it can make it still, you can still make a nice base. We'll put this down here. And this is one of the reasons why I like to do this before I start painting the model, because then the model won't be on its painting base, and I can actually use it as a guide for putting things down. And then to spice it up a bit, instead you can put them down at any angle. I'm putting it down like this, but I'm going to flip it up to give you some type of a rubbled look, maybe a little bit, a little different of a look. And just kind of stick it in there. And there we go. It's uneven, which is the effect I'm going for. And if you feel like maybe you push too much paste to one side, that's okay. If you want more, you can just use your finger, take it on your finger and wipe it down here. But basically this base is ready to basically sit and dry. Now there's a good chance that Armin could still stand on this base, being the road model that he is. I'll take this stuff out of the way and bring the second base in that I made beforehand, before thinking of to do this on video. And he can definitely stand on this base. So those are the two bases. If one base doesn't work out, I know it'll work out for another model, so I'm not too worried. These are the two bases. Now, like I said, I don't put flock down at this step. You could if you wanted to. I've done it before, but I feel I get better results when I put the flock on the spackling paste once it's fully dried. I don't know what it recommends on the instructions here. I let it sit for a couple of hours, because we're not using that much of it for its actual intention. So yeah, I'll let it sit for like an hour or two. And you can feel it. If it feels dry enough for your liking, you can move on to the next step. The longer it sits, the better it'll dry before you move on. Now the stuff is sandable if you wanted to sand it for some reason, which is why you can kind of flake it off. So like these bits on here, on the edges of the base, I'll be able to break off and keep smooth with the base. So once it's dry, if you're worried about pieces coming out, I never had a problem with that, but if you are, you could put a coat of like super glue or like put super glue in certain areas to kind of act as a extra adhesive, but you don't have to. But the next step after this is adding any flock that you may want to add to the base, and with white glue, with PVA glue, and it depends where you want the flock. I like putting the flock on the actual spackling paste itself, trying to keep it off for the most part of the granite rubble pieces we put on. But of course it's up to you, and we're not up to that step. So this is actually going to be a multi-part video whenever I can get my computer working again to get it uploaded. So basically, when we come back to these bases, I'm going to have one with the flock on it, and then the other one I'll kind of try and go through the process of how I flock the base, and then we'll move on from there. So hopefully this was interesting. Let me know how it worked out. It was probably not the best quality because it's my first time trying to do this on camera, and it's harder than I thought it would be to try to keep it on camera and work at the same time. But it's fairly simple. Basing is important, and this is again another reason why I like to do bases before I actually start painting the models, because I can put them on the base as kind of like a test fit to see if they will work for that base. Anyway, if you get your hands dirty, once they dry, once the paste dries, you can kind of flake it off and rub it off your fingers, and wash your hands, it'll come right off, so you don't have to worry about that. But I would suggest working on a work mat or something that you don't mind getting a little dirty. And that's it. Hopefully it wasn't too boring, and until next time, take it easy.